Oseo everyone. Today I want to talk about the word Indian and why it was given to the tribes of America as a form of misclassification. Think about how it feels to hear someone say your name when you are getting an award or an achievement. Now think about how it feels to get an award and the person butchers your name. Does it feel the same? No. Now think about doing a specific task and you know that you're supposed to get an award, but they call someone else's name. That sums up religion, but it is also the plight of the independent contractor, or the Indian. When someone wants to outsource a job and they don't want to pay taxes or provide full benefits, they get an independent contractor. Indians not taxed should ring a bell here. Now I want to ask you, how can you regulate the trade of an independent contractor and then state that they are not a part of the company, 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 of the company? How exactly did they change the scent or the essence of an individual, taking them from birth and then placing them onto the stage to now act out the assuming role of a slave? Well, in the case of the American Indians, the stage was already being set by a series of events, which placed the needy children of America into an unfamiliar environment. In this environment, they had to choose internally who they were based upon the stimuli provided externally. And much of this came from the process of misclassification. Misclassification is a necessary component in the process of creating independent workers. According to the Webster's Dictionary, misclassification is defined as an act or instance of wrongly assigning someone or something to a group or category. This in particular is vital to the advancement of moving an individual from one subgroup to another, because when you misclassify someone, you automatically remove them from the group that they were originally in. Unless the person that is being misclassified corrects this mistake, they will move forward and begin to pick up on information and prompts that ensure that they assume the character role created within their new environment. For example, when a baby is born, the first face they see is whom they assume is the parent and the authoritative figure. But whose face is the first face that they actually see when they are born in a hospital? And who assumes the first act of discipline right after that? All of these things are strategically done in order to create a physical and spiritual hierarchy that contributes to either the classification or the misclassification of an individual from their point of birth. And to give an additional example of how misclassification works, especially on the mind of a child, I want you to think back to when you were in school. Have you ever accidentally walked into the wrong class? Maybe at the beginning of the school year, and the teacher starts talking and handing out assignments, but you don't know what he or she is talking about. And maybe you were even assigned to this class, so you have to sit there until the whole class is over before you can fix it. But at this point in the situation, you are totally confused. So you look around the classroom for somebody that may look like you, and maybe they can help you figure things out. You know what I mean. It allows for an automatic instance of self-determination and for self-regrouping to take place. Now let's take it from the most obvious information to something that is not so obvious. Most names and the words which describe a person, place, or thing are regarded as affirmations and commands. They are commands initially, and they become affirmations upon your agreement. So whatever you are agreeing to be called, make sure you know the descriptive reference upon what you are agreeing to. And that brings me to the classification that was originally used to describe the inhabitants of America, which is the word Indian. Webster's dictionary describes an Indian as a person of Indian descent, an American Indian, or one of the native languages of American Indians. And so we must take the root word of Indian, which is Indi, to determine what they meant by that. The word Indy is defined as a car that is designed to meet the rules of the Indianapolis 500, or the Indian policy of D, as polis translates to police or policy, and 500 is regarded as the Roman numeral of D. Now, why would they do that? Why would they entwine a definition within a definition, or a command within a command? It's called wrapping a command, or a shell script, which embeds an affirmation within a particular system, as the affirmation from one's mouth creates reality. That's why we use our words in court more so than anything, and why what is said can be held against you, And so moving on, an Indy car is a Formula One, which is an entry-level class single-seater, for the purpose of division, of course. And the command which is given is ND, which is also the fourth letter of the alphabet, and it is regarded as the lowest passing grade one can receive as a student in school or college. The letter D is also a socio-economic classification in terms of marketing, which is a framework created for the sharing of individuals in the economy. Sharing, as in an apportionment, is to give a portion of something to another, to use, occupy, or enjoy jointly. And in terms of status, within this marketing framework, psychologically speaking, a socioeconomic status is the position of an individual or group of individuals on the socioeconomic scale, which is determined by a combination of social and economic factors, such as income, amount and kind of education, type and prestige of occupation, place of residence, and, in some societies or parts of society, ethnic origin or religious background. Socioeconomic status often reveal inequities in access to resources, as well as systematic control over privilege, and it directs behind the scenes who should hold positions of power. Here is an example of the framework and how individuals are apportioned to it. The lowest on the chart are those who are totally uneducated and that holds very little value. Because no one can make use of this type of person, they hold the value of E, which is a diminutive termination. Someone at this status may be regarded as a human guinea pig. On this particular chart, this is referenced by unskilled workers without a high school diploma. Right above that is the label of D, someone who has been educated to an entry level of work. This person can have a high school diploma, some college, a bachelor's, or a master's degree. It really doesn't matter the degree. If you are placed in the category of D, you are a part of the group of individuals that they want to be shared in the form of consumption and who will be regarded as the working class. And that is the reason why many people may have a college degree, but the position at their job or the particular job that they were able to receive just doesn't pay well. It's all by design. The question is, how is it that only a particular group of people are taught how to do a high-paying skill or trade at an early age? And here in America, most needy children are not. All of this points to the decision was already made for the needy of America to be categorized and misclassified as Indian, which allowed for self-determination to eventually prompt them into the character of Black or the newly formed character of African American. And these particular characters were only created as a defense. All of this brings us back to the reason why they used the word Indian with particular groups of people originally in the first place. And this plan was presented by foreigners long before you were even thought of as the proto-alphabet, as a logosyllabary, also known as an Egyptian hieroglyphic.
So the first thing you need to know is that not all writing systems are alphabets. The earliest one to develop was the logosyllabary. A good example of a logosyllabary is ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. In most cases, a hieroglyphic symbol did not represent a single sound like in an alphabet. Instead, it represented an entire word or syllable. They devised a system by which there was just one symbol for every one phonetic sound. By doing so, they were able to reduce the total number of symbols needed for writing from several hundred to just 20 or 30. So, for example, this crude drawing of a house, shown from above like a floor plan, came to represent something like the sound B. And this fish came to represent something like the sound D. So it was in this way that the alphabet was born.
And as you saw in the video, the fourth letter, which is D, was represented by a fish, defined as a person deficient in something, which is a perfect description for those who are meant to be thrown to the sharks, publicly schooled. They use the symbol of the fish to be sly, and that's why they sandwiched it in with the command NDN, thinking that no one would ever find out.
Nobody's gonna know.
I'm just here to make you think.